What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. Today we have SCP-1730, What Happened to Site-13. This video is from the Exploring series, so if you haven't subscribed to him, be sure to go and subscribe to him. He makes great content, and we have reacted to a shit ton of his stuff. So yeah, show him some love as well. Puts a lot of work into his videos. But I put a poll out yesterday, and I've put 5 videos for you guys to vote for the next long reaction, and you guys voted for this pretty overwhelmingly. I think this one won by quite a distance. So yeah, this video has actually been in my watch later since I started reacting to SCP stuff, so a very long time, a few months now. Probably around about the start of January this has been sitting in my watch later. Because it is a 40-minute video, you know, I didn't react to it right away. But yeah, you guys have been requesting it for a while, so I thought it's time that we react to this video. A lot of you guys might have been asking me in recent weeks to react to this. A lot of you said it's a mindfuck as well, so yeah, hopefully this video is really entertaining. It is a 40-minute video, so be sure to get a snack or a drink or something, dude, because if not, you know, you're gonna be probably gonna get hungry midway through the video. So yeah, we're gonna get into this, man. If you are new to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification so you never miss an upload. We upload every single day, so yeah, be sure to subscribe. Also, you could follow me on Twitch where I do playthroughs of certain games and we just chill. So if you ever want to come and talk to me or just chill, I do stream on Twitch. Link in the description for that. Also, if you want all the latest updates on the channel and you want to suggest me videos so I can 100% see them, join our Discord. Definitely the best place for the channel updates and the best place to suggest videos. So yeah, we're gonna get into this video, ladies and gentlemen, man. Without further ado, it's a long one, so be prepared. And yeah, let's go. Take us away, Mr. Exploring series.
SCP-1730. What happened to Site-13? For the greater good is a phrase that is...
For those of you who have been around for a long time, you guys know for the greater good is possibly my most hated phrase. And yeah, I don't particularly always agree with the phrase, but the main reason is the Tau from Warhammer 40k. So if you have been around a long time, you would know if you were watching those. But yeah, let's continue.
It has been used in various forms throughout history to justify certain actions that would normally be considered abhorrent. The SCP Foundation in general, of course, operates largely on this principle throughout most of their work, but often is the case where the Foundation is ultimately correct in their choice of actions. SCP-1730 is a grand, detailed report of a situation where the Foundation was profoundly, terribly wrong.
Ouch.
SCP-1730 is easily among the lengthiest articles on the SCP Wiki, and although the actual description of the SCP is fairly short, the numerous logs, recovered materials, and interviews make this an epic report. In this video, I'll attempt to summarize and explain 1730 as best as I can, but keep in mind that I'll be cutting out quite a bit of atmospheric details along the way.
Yep.
SCP-1730.
What do you guys think about that phrase, for the greater good, by the way? You guys let me know, man. I just think it's a silly phrase in most circumstances, you know what I mean? Like, whenever people say for the greater good, it just brings to me communism, you know what I mean? Like, that's just what goes to my head, because I think it's what's associated with that, you know what I mean? But there's probably some circumstances where for the greater good is good, you know? Like, if somebody's a serial killer, you lock them up for the greater good, I guess. That's the whole prison system, I guess. That makes sense. But yeah, I don't know, man. What do you guys think?
1730 ultimately both asks and answers the question of what exactly happened to Site-13. And we see immediately that 1730 is listed as neutralized, meaning that it's either been... Immediately that 1730 is listed as neutralized.
Okay, so to be fair, we hadn't seen a neutralized SCP for a very long time, man, and now we've had, like, what was it, 2 or 3 in a row of neutralized SCPs, right? We've had this Site-13, we've had the dragons. Wow, okay, we're getting to the neutralized. I don't know how many neutralized SCPs there are, but...
Meaning that it's either been destroyed, its anomalous properties have been removed, or it is no longer a part of our existence.
R.I.P.
1730 itself is a large complex of structures, with identifying markers showing that it was known as the SCP Foundation's Site-13. Foundation records, however, show that Site-13 was originally planned to be built,
but the plans were scrapped. The site was going to be built in Alaska, which seems to be where 1730 is from, which makes it stranger that it is located in Texas. The site seems long abandoned, is in a severe state of disrepair, and there are a number of fuel leaks and fires throughout the facility due to the power generator continuing to operate in a damaged state.
Jesus.
Despite this, there is believed to be human survivors somewhere in the lower parts of the facility, as messages have been found on walls throughout the site, including the words danger, bleed, and the phrase, "What happened to Site 13?"
I'm sorry, that's... How big is this? How big is it that there's still people in there? Can they not get out? I guess we'll have the questions answered.
The Foundation has established a simple containment procedure due to the site's remote location, but ultimately they decided to send in some teams to properly explore it. Our first piece of major info comes from a recovered log from a recovery team working for Site 13. They were apparently sent to retrieve and recontain an anomaly, and the log describes the anomaly crawling into one of the team's mouths, causing blood to leak from every orifice.
The fuck?
Afterwards, 2 anomalies come out of the body, with one drinking up all the blood, and the other going back into the dead body, reanimating it.
What kind of alien shit is this,
The remainder
dude?
of the team puts down their reanimated squad mate, but the writer of the log admits that they don't have much longer, says something that was expunged from the record, and states it's just a matter of time before it starts. Interestingly, the expunged section was removed because it was marked as a cognitohazard, something that is dangerous for some reason to an individual when recorded with any of the 5 senses. In this case, likely sight. The log describes the team using C4 explosives to blow up the wall, rendering something illegible, likely the cognitohazard, but says it doesn't matter because Jones already went quiet like the others, and they shoved him down an elevator shaft.
Ouch.
Finally, it mentions how someone started up the Thresher, which we'll learn about later. The next piece of info is an automated message describing the states of the various systems of Site-13. We see that it was sent minutes before an electrical disturbance and an explosion in the power relay, and shows that nearly every system is offline or compromised, including the Keter-class containment systems. Additionally, the Euclid-class containment systems and the reactor are both in critical status. Finally, we're brought into the present, with the exploration log transcript for the first team sent into Site-13 by the Foundation. The team
Just might go to P90 with a scope and a silence. What am I saying?
is the D-12 Mobile Task Force, known as the Mudslingers, and consists of 6 members, including the captain.
Capitan.
They enter through the unlocked front doors, switch on their lights due to the darkness, and immediately find messages written on the walls, including the ominous phrase, "Don't look at the walls." They find a service elevator that's still powered, and descend to the 3rd basement level. The team splits up to search the floor, finding that the rooms are filthy, due to being covered in some sort of metallic-smelling sludge.
Yee.
They see a makeshift barricade next to a door, and they also find a few bodies, half submerged in the sludge. A snake-like creature emerged from one of the bodies' mouths, which they immediately terminated, and discovered that the bodies were in fact hollow. The team agrees to return to the elevator, only to find the layout of the floor has changed, meaning they are either hallucinating or the building is physically changing. They head down.
That is one of the most fucked up things. Actually, that's 2 fucked up things that he said in one sentence. Firstly, a snake thing came out of the body, and then the bodies are hollow, which means whatever these things are, they eat you from the inside. I mean, there's definitely a few parasites that do that, right? The one that springs to mind is that weird fucking, bug thing that goes into a fish's mouth and replaces its tongue. I don't know if you guys know about that, but that is disgusting. The second thing is, the building changes. Yo, that is not something. It reminds me of the Harry Potter staircases and the maze from Maze Runner. So yeah, that is fucking terrifying. Imagine just going into this building that's already pretty goddamn terrifying, and then it starts moving around and changing. Oh my god.
Down a hallway which seems to be much longer than the building's schematics show, and break down a door into an office. They find a naked human with fire seemingly burning out of its ears.
What?
An intense white light, the sound of searing meat, and static from the team's microphones is all Site Command receives for over a minute.
My man's getting barbecued.
Until they also hear the sound of slithering, a cry, and choking sounds. Other strange sounds come through the microphone until the other 2 members who had split away from the group finally respond. They are currently waiting near the elevator and thought their radios had stopped working, until suddenly their camera feeds show them in a different room, with one of them hanging upside down, facing each other, and both are completely stark white. Blood from their mouth, nostrils, and eyes cover their faces, and a large object moves in the background, accompanied by the sound of slithering from multiple directions.
Fuck no.
One of the team members opens their eyes, and the video and audio feeds cut out.
Jesus.
This was the last Site Command heard from the Mudslinger. Clearly, exploration...
You know one thing I don't understand about some of these operations with the SCPs, guys? Why do they send, like, 5 guys into these things? Like, 5, like... You know there's a big problem here, and when you can't control an SCP or a location, like, you guys can't do it, why do you send 5 guys or 10 guys? Send, like, fucking a 50 squad. Send a whole squadron, like a battalion of people in there. You know what I mean? Don't send 5 dudes.
The main structure was going to prove to be quite dangerous. So until the Foundation could set up a more prepared second attempt, they decided to send in a small team to the power station
There it is
to
again.
assess the damage. MTF Y-24, known as Gulliver's Travelers, is a 3-man team who went to the power station, only to discover the first set of doors inside to be locked and bulletproof.
Good.
Rather than using
Time to go
explosives, which would risk a collapse, Site Command tries to find someone who would possibly know the clearance code for the door. Despite this site never actually being constructed in this reality, Director Jameson's clearance code from when this site would have been built manages to get the team in.
It what?
The team examines the power cores, and then
It wasn't constructed in this reality, but it's still in the reality, boys.
releases a micro-drone to provide a closer look, revealing that 7 of the 12 cores are damaged beyond repair, 3 are not functioning at full power, and 2 are, although one of those is currently superheated. The team finds more of the sludge that the other team encountered, and then sees 10 stark white bodies bound to the superheated core with wire. Underneath them, seemingly written in blood, are the words, "What happened to Site-13?" The team descends a stairwell, finding a door at the bottom that has been pried open, and discover a disgusting smell before their camera feeds begin to distort. The audio feed then cuts out completely, and Site Command only receives intermittent communications for 15 minutes, during which the team seems to be encountering more of the dead humans covered in sludge. Finally, it seems as if they encounter one that appears to be alive, before Site Command totally loses contact with the team.
Rip.
The recovered sludge from the micro-drone appears to be blood and power core residue mixed with an unknown biological matter. 1 week later, the team's video feed comes back online for 13 seconds, during which it shows a number of humans standing and looking down at a table. The Foundation still needed more time to prepare for the next exploration team, and so decided to send in an unmanned drone to hopefully investigate the lower floors of the main complex. The drone was launched through the same door that the first team entered, and began to descend in the elevator towards the lowest basement floor. After descending 7 floors, a power failure causes the elevator to stop, and so the drone forces the doors open, and descends manually to the 8th basement floor, a Euclid containment wing. After inspecting a number of rooms, the drone sees a vaguely humanoid entity standing near the end of the hallway. The drone follows the entity, as it doesn't seem to notice it, and watches as it picks up some of the sludge on the floor and marks a nearby wall. The symbols on the wall are later revealed to be cognitohazards, which the drone takes pictures of, and continues to follow the entity, which curiously leaves behind no footprints in the sludge. The drone enters the actual containment area, finding a cell containing a human form covered in sludge, with sparks emanating from its fingertips. A sign on the doorway states that Entity 324 is scheduled for termination in December of 1975.
Oof.
The drone finds another cell that had been locked shut. After forcing it open, the drone sees a dead female on the floor, with no sludge in the room. An identification badge on the corpse contains the name Jack Bright.
Dr. Bright.
Dr. Bright is a notable individual in the SCP universe.
You know, so far this is very pretty confusing, right? And of course, the one guy that would have to be involved in this is Dr. Bright. It had to be. It just had to be Dr. Bright. Let's be honest. If there was one guy you had to bet your money on, it'd be him.
Capable of immortality through jumping into different bodies due to the use of SCP-963. The drone descends to the next floor, finding a working computer terminal, which is running an older version of the SCP Foundation operating system. The drone begins to transmit what files it can access back to command, but soon they lose contact with the drone.
No.
It's at this point that the cognito hazard that Site Command had viewed earlier triggered, causing affected individuals to go silent and begin to burn from their ears. Any audible sound after this would trigger a silent explosion,
Oh shit.
shaking Site Command and destroying most of their communication equipment. The drone finished transmitting files, but the drone itself was never recovered.
Of course it wasn't.
I'll skip ahead for a moment to discuss the various files that the drone transmitted back. First, a correspondence from an engineer to the site's chief biologist and assistant director of anomalous biology, Dr. Hadley. Hadley was apparently working with the mysterious Thresher device, and the engineer informed her that although the reactors could surge to power the device, the reactors would likely not survive the process. The engineer goes on to say that the Thresher device is still wildly unstable, and utilization of it would likely destabilize local reality.
Oh no.
Another correspondence from an individual.
So whatever they done with those reactors or whatever, they destabilized reality, and is that why it's now in this reality? Because they never built it in this one, but it's here. So whatever they done might have teleported this Site-13 that was meant to be in Alaska into Texas in I say the main reality that we operate in, I guess. So.
Who was both on the SCP Foundation's Ethics Committee and the head of the Global Occult Coalition's Ethics Board.
Wow.
Tells Dr. Hadley that she is not permitted to transfer out of Site-13.
I didn't know the GOC had an ethics board, honestly, but, you know.
Additionally, Dr. Hadley seems to have an issue with Site-13's director and the protocol of terminating humanoid SCPs. The individual informs her that these anomalies are not considered human beings, and are not entitled to any of the rights that human beings are.
Ooh, GOC right there.
Next, a test log of reality benders being exposed to dangerous conditions while wearing inhibitor devices, to see if they can change reality to save themselves. Exposure to extremely cold and hot temperatures, as well as electricity, caused the reality benders to die without them stopping it, while water submersion seems to interfere with the inhibitor device, causing unknown results. As a side note, the administrator of the test is listed as a doctor with only a number identification, not a name, in contrast to how the SCP Foundation usually does things.
That's pretty fucked up. They got reality benders and they just done experiments on them with inhibitor devices on, which I'm assuming stops them bending reality to see if they could still do it. What? That's fucked up.
A message from one engineer to another discusses a buildup of toxic waste in the pit beneath the reactors. The waste is supposed to be piped off-site, but keeps getting built up, which will likely lead to a very serious issue. A note from Director Emerson states that the entire humanoid wing of the facility is to be promptly terminated by electrocution and incineration.
Wow.
It's this process that is seemingly causing the buildup of waste.
Oh.
Another message from an engineer to Dr. Hadley says that he altered termination records for a leech boy that was taken down to the pit. Since the output of the pit is still blocked up, he won't go anywhere. Finally, we get a message from Dr. Hadley to Director Emerson, in which we get a number of new details. The message discusses a containment breach caused by Dr. Hadley, and mentions that Emerson was foolish for thinking that killing the anomalous entities would stop them.
This dude is creepy.
As them being living is the least anomalous thing about them. Dr. Hadley goes on to discuss a young boy named Elijah, who subsisted only on blood and could drink it through someone's skin.
The leech boy.
Much like a leech. He had the mental capacity of a toddler and did not choose to be this way, but Emerson had him incinerated like the rest. Of course, the incineration didn't actually kill Elijah, and him interacting with the bloody sludge caused a highly anomalous process to occur, in which the dead SCPs returned, in a way. In addition to this, of course...
Hold on. Let me see if I got this straight. They had a ton of reality benders, blah, blah, blah. They done experiments. They decided to kill them all. And as they were killing them all through electrocution, or the humanoid anomalies, whatever they had there, they killed them through electrocution and incineration. But when they killed them, and they drained away the remains, it was this sludge that didn't, and it started to build up. And when they put this leech boy in and they killed him, something happened where he, I guess, didn't fully die and he reanimated them or some shit. Ah, that's fucked up.
The Thresher device was eventually activated, causing the local reality of the site to heavily distort, leading to one highly anomalous facility. The Foundation still needed a more complete understanding of the facility, however, and so another team was sent in to explore its depths. This team, MTF-Z9, called Mole Rats, were specifically experienced in exploring anomalous locations, so they would be best prepared for the reality warping effects inside. The 5-man team entered the main structure, equipped with helmets that would filter out any of the writing on the walls to avoid cognito hazards. They descend the stairs to the 6th basement level and begin to explore the floor, walking past sludge and bodies, when suddenly the floor collapses underneath one of the team members,
RIP.
Z9-4. The fall injures his leg, leaving him immobile, and the rest of the team look for a stairwell to descend. The injured member begins to hear slithering sounds around him, unable to see his surroundings. Gunshots ring out through the facility as one of the members, Z9-3, watching his injured teammate, sees a leech-like creature approaching him. The creature enters Z9-4's mouth and begins sliding down his throat. Z9-3 attempts to shoot the creature, but misses, and asks the captain for permission to shoot Z9-4.
Just shoot him.
To put him out of his misery. He gets no response from the captain, but after Z9-4 lets out a choking plea, he fires his weapon.
Well played.
The floor further collapses,
You're a good
causing
man.
Z9-3 to fall and get crushed by debris. 5 minutes later, Z9-4 goes silent. A leech creature comes out of his mouth, and he stands up, picking up his dead teammate's weapon.
Oh no.
Site Command received no communication from any of the mole rats.
I feel like I know where this is going. He's gonna kill them.
For the following 3 hours, when suddenly communication from the 3 team members resumes, with them seemingly below the 15th floor. Z9-4's camera feed comes back for a moment, showing a number of humans with flames coming out of their ears, and a massive pit with a large creature in it covered in smaller creatures. Communication from the rest of the team eventually goes out again for 4 hours, before feeds from the captain resume again.
Captain.
She apparently reached the Thresher device by herself, but she hears footsteps coming towards her. Her light goes out. She begins running through the darkness.
Big mistake.
And finally, communication is lost once again.
Big mistake.
In the aftermath of this, it was clearly just too dangerous for a team to explore the facility. And so that would have likely been the end of the Foundation's research on 1730. However, one morning, monitoring equipment picked up a looped transmission coming from the facility. The transmission was from a doctor who worked at Site-13, who claimed that there were 12 people still alive in the facility, surrounded by hostiles and running out of supplies. Since the doctor claimed that the transmission would stop looping once he was dead, it seems that for the time being, there were living humans still in there. In light of this, the Foundation cleared a rescue mission. This is when things get really interesting. Another 5-man team was sent in to continue...
I think that's Exploring Series' way of saying this is where it gets really messed up, you know? Really confused. 5-man team again! Send a big boy team, bro! Like, what's going on?
The facility. And hopefully locate the survivors using the coordinates transmitted by the doctor. The team, MTF Apollo-3, Game Wardens, entered the main structure and went straight to the stairwell, hoping to use it to descend to the bottom floor. After traveling down it for nearly 10 minutes, the team finds that the bottom of the staircase is missing, abruptly cutting off into some sort of liquid void.
Nope. Up we
Site
go.
Command informs them they are actually about 15 meters below where they thought the stairwell ended. The liquid begins to rise, forcing the team to ascend the stairs, although one of the team members gets his legs enveloped by the void. After pulling him out and up to the next floor, they find that his legs have been cleanly severed at the knees.
Wow.
But he can still feel them as if they were there, and most anomalously, he can actually stand.
Eh?
They pass their hands underneath him, and he appears to be simply floating, without feeling any different than normal.
That's messed up.
The team explores the floor, finding a rotting corpse they seem to recognize as their friend Zachary, unaware that it is dead.
God damn it, Zachary.
This is seemingly SCP-1730, and its anomalous effects are going through the team's visors designed to filter out cognitohazards. The team continues to chat with the corpse until Site Command finally updates their visors, and they realize that it's just a body. They soon encounter a shimmering humanoid entity approaching them, warping the environment around it. One of the team members is apparently caught in its field of effect, hanging and twisting behind it. The team fires on the entity, but the bullets simply spin around it. The entity proceeds to attack one of the members with an appendage, but they deploy a miniature reality anchor, causing the entity to disperse. They find the member that was caught in its field and is now partially fused with the wall, ceiling, and floor, presumably dead.
That's poor.
The team decides to continue on, as it seems just as risky to attempt to leave, and they eventually enter a communications room. A screen flickers on, revealing a standard containment cell containing a single figure. One of the team members recognizes the figure as SCP-993, Bobble the Clown.
Nope.
They begin conversing with the figure, who claims that it is not Bobble, but a thing that used to be Bobble. The figure claims that Director Emerson played with the strings of the universe and broke them. It goes on to say that every anomalous thing that the Foundation could find and the Coalition could catch were brought to Site-13 in order to be fed to the meat grinder.
Ew.
Unless there was something to gain first. The figure seems to be heavily disfigured and distorted, and possesses an extreme animosity for Director Emerson. But the team moves on.
So is that what they were doing? They were capturing these anomalies because they were trying to make some super anomaly or some shit. And I guess they did in a way. I guess they did because they've done something here. They were feeding anomalies to the meat grinder, which is probably they were killing them, and that sludge. I don't know what they're using that sludge for, but you know.
Site Command loses contact with the team for 30 minutes, during which they manage to find the survivors, who number somewhere in the 20s, and include a few of the mole rats and one of the Gulliver's travelers.
Oh, wow.
The team reveals that they have been down there now for 3 days, not 30 minutes, and are surrounded by anomalous entities with little chance of survival, let alone completing the rescue attempt. Enter Mobile Task Force Tau 5, known as Samsara. Samsara have a bit of their own history, but to summarize, they are essentially cloned cyborgs made from a dead god. They possess regenerative abilities, a number of technological augmentations, and their memories can be loaded onto a clone of their bodies, making them functionally immortal.
Nice.
They are not omnipotent, however, and this rescue mission still has a high chance of failure, but Samsara stood the best chance of succeeding. The Samsara team consists of 4 individuals, and they were outfitted with arm-mounted incendiary cannons, shock-absorbing leg extensions, heat-resistant plating, and built-in filters for their eyes, among other enhancements.
Hopefully reality.
The team enters through a drainage pipe and soon split up,
big mistake,
with 2 of them continuing down the pipe towards a heat source, and the other 2 breaking through a thin wall into a room containing offices. They find a control room for the incinerator, and are soon joined by the other 2 team members, who remark that the pipe is completely blocked. They activate the machinery, which begins to spin, and the heat continues to rise as the incinerator kicks on. They notice a gate at the bottom, and shoot out the window of the control room, jumping down. They follow another drainage pipe into a cistern, where they find a number of cracks in the walls. Small leeches begin pouring out of the cracks, feeding on the sludge and growing larger. One of the team members realizes there is something huge beneath them, functioning as a host for the leeches. Believing the leeches to be telepathic, they hijack one of the leech's brains, using it to create a map of the facility, albeit a distorted one due to the continually changing layout.
That's crazy.
They deduce where the survivors are, and decide to take the fastest path towards them, despite the path going through an area where the leeches act considerably quieter than they normally do.
Nope. Big mistake.
The team climbs out of the cistern before going to the nearby stairwell, which is largely destroyed. They drop down, using their leg implants to avoid grave injury, and enter into a server room. The room is cooled to negative 20 degrees Celsius, thanks to a cryonics chamber located directly above. And they soon realize that no sound whatsoever is audible in here.
Oh.
Their filters for cognitohazards begin triggering, and they slowly move through the server room. They see a massive entity moving through the room. A humanoid construct with 6 legs, 18 arms, 36 forearms,
looks like a Hindu
and
god,
72
bro.
hands.
Oh my god.
Each limb independently performs constant gestures, believed to be responsible for the silence permeating the room, and where its head would be is instead an emaciated, charred human figure bound to its chest.
Jesus.
This figure is struggling against its restraints and continually screaming, although the screaming seems to only be heard as a constant whining sound. The human has the word Emerson seared into its flesh, seemingly by a melted piece of fabric.
So that's the guy who's responsible for all of this. So the anomalies that were reanimated by Leech Boy or whatever the hell's going on in the sludge, they created this and they tied him to that shit for eternal pain or eternal damnation. Yeah, deserved. Sorry, Emerson, brother. Deserved.
The entity seems to be hazardous to look at.
Good.
So the team quickly moves on. The whining sound grows suddenly louder and closer. So the team detonate a proximity mine behind them and rush through a door, dodging white-hot glyphs that begin to appear in the air around them. One of the team members loses an arm in the process.
Oh.
But they quickly flee from the server room, and sound resumes. They soon find the survivors, with one of the mole rats referring to Samsara as the Power Rangers. The leeches begin to come out of nearby cracks in the walls, and the mission changes now from search to rescue. The extraction process begins, with 11 MTF members and 27 staff members of Site-13, a number of which were significantly injured.
Oh.
Their plan involves going to the Thresher device and reducing the power to the machine long enough to produce a stable route to the surface. Destroying the device would likely only cause drastic problems, including their deaths. The group begins moving, with Samsara leading the extraction.
I need to know what the hell that is over there, dude.
And they start to kill what leeches they can.
Good job.
They are soon attacked by the floating humanoid entity seen by the drone that was drawing on the walls.
Reality anchor.
But copious amounts of bullets and incendiary rounds put it down.
Good stuff.
Immediately after, the floor beneath the entity collapses, revealing a long, slick creature covered in eyes and possessing a mouth full of pointy teeth.
Oh.
It devours the corpse of the humanoid, and a large number of leeches are propelled towards the group.
Oh my god.
2 of the Samsara members provide covering fire, as the rest of the group retreats to take a different route. The group enters a hallway where they encounter a cloud of crystal butterflies, SCP-553. The Samsara captain takes on the butterflies himself with his flamethrower, shredding and scorching most of his flesh in the process.
Oh.
They soon encounter a locked door to the Thresher wing.
My man took a book out of the Salamanders, a page out of the Salamanders book on that one. Time for some heavy flamer action going on right here.
Which they cannot open. But somehow the door unlocks, and the figure that was once Bobble the Clown appears on a monitor, laughing, seemingly responsible.
God damn it, Bubble.
They move into the room, finding the Thresher device, although it is surrounded by hundreds of small flying creatures. While deciding what to do, a nearby wall collapses, and the many-eyed creature enters. The small creatures descend to attack the large entity, which begins devouring them using long tentacles. While manipulating the Thresher device, a section of the floor collapses, with another long-tentacled entity coming through it.
Oh.
The MTF members begin battling the entities, with one of them dying in the process while the device is manipulated. Finally, they force the entities to flee, killing off the rest of the small creatures.
Nice.
The entire facility begins rumbling and shaking, with loud screeching noises accompanying the mechanical sounds. It's time for the team to make their final ascent out of the facility, now that the Thresher device is running on low power, and local reality is stabilized. Hoping to meet up with the other 2 Samsara members on the way, they begin moving, and soon run into SCP-2316, a powerful cognitohazard that takes the form of bodies in the water that people believe they recognize.
Oh,
Samsara
that's fucked up. That reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean. Is it number 2 or 3 where Elizabeth sees her dad like floating in the water like a ghost? Yeah.
Keeps the group moving, and they enter into a large garage, where they encounter a massive mechanical construct, seemingly controlled by SCP-1370, who attempts to intimidate the group by claiming to be the Herald of Destruction.
Mm-hmm.
A Samsara member easily destroys the small robot controlling the construct, and they meet up with the other 2 members.
Nice.
They hear a large crashing sound below them, and the floor begins to buckle.
Uh-oh.
So the group flees, losing a researcher in the process.
Uh-oh.
At the bottom of the massive hole is a tremendous black mass, completely covered in red eyes, with several other large black masses extending from it.
Mm-mm.
Presumably, this is Elijah, the leech boy.
The leech boy.
The group flee, chased through the facility by black tendrils coming from the hole, and they find themselves trapped with no way to ascend. One of the mole rats decides to lead them further down into the facility, into a massive containment chamber. The civilians are sent to the far end of the chamber, where an access point will lead them up to the power station and out of the facility. Meanwhile, the MTFs are going to cover them, as a huge wall breaks down, and the 200-meter-tall leech boy enters the room.
Hell no. How big is this room?
A naked human woman is visibly joined to its tongue, and it lets out a piercing scream as the MTFs unleash everything they have on it.
Yes, boys.
A few of the members,
Final
however,
stand.
begin working on opening 2 massive containment doors, which finally open, unleashing 2 of the most powerful entities known to the Foundation. One of them is SCP-001, the Gate Guardian.
The Gate Guardian?
A tremendous winged figure carrying a huge sword.
This would be about for the ages. Leech Boy versus Gate Guardian. But surely this is only applicable if your headcanon goes for SCP-001 to be the Gate Guardian.
And the other is SCP-2845.
Fucking hell, yeah. No,
an entity largely resembling a deer, with a ring of ice and metal rotating behind its head.
You're in big trouble, boys.
The Gate Guardian is capable of obliterating anything around it with its fiery sword.
Nice.
And the deer is capable of instantly transmuting and reconstructing matter, making them each quite formidable foes. The 3 entities begin an unimaginable battle with each other as the...
This is a one hell of a piece of artwork, dude. Shout out to the guy who made this. Look at this. This is Elijah, Gate Guardian, deer. Are they all fighting each other, or are they, like, 2v1ing?
The MTFs flee towards the civilians. The stairway upwards is damaged by metallic cylinders that come crashing through, killing the Samsara captain.
Oh, no.
The leader of the mole rats decides to stay behind to buy the group more time, and she's joined by one of the Samsara members as the rest of the group makes it to the surface. The 2 MTF members that stay behind go back to the Thresher device, turning it to full power as the mole rat captain laughs hysterically and wildly fires her weapon at the leech boy. The people above ground hear a deafening crackling sound. The area around the facility begins to distort, and suddenly Site-13 is gone, leaving behind an immense crater.
What have I just
No
seen?
further transmissions are received, and SCP-1730 is marked as neutralized.
What?
All that remains is the debriefing then. One of the Game Warden members seems severely traumatized.
Oh, they made it out. They made it out. I thought the mole rat captain lost his mind, or was a traitor or some shit. And when they went back, he switched the reality anchor all the way up, so everyone would be trapped. Okay, so obviously that weird Thresher device obviously distorts reality, and that's how this got here in the first place. I mean, this is a very interesting story. I like this, I ain't gonna lie to you.
But the captain of Samsara considers the mission a success,
Who was
although
dead?
he seems mournful of the mole rat leader's demise.
Oh.
The Game Warden member, who seemingly lost their legs but can still stand, remarks that it doesn't feel like a phantom pain, as he can actually feel his legs, and occasionally feels something wet and furry brushing past them.
I say we off him.
The interview with the Samsara member that went with the mole rat captain
He's
reveals
smart
that they
too.
went to a server room and disabled their cameras because they were apparently given a vision, which they believed to be a cognito hazard. They were standing on a precipice overlooking a vast area where countless humans screamed, each of them missing their hands, while the sky above them burned.
Oh, it's hell.
A falling star scorched billions of corpses, and in the middle of the star was the many-armed entity they encountered earlier.
Yeah, no thank you.
They were given visions of coils of fire and storms of souls, a hole at the center of the universe, and a god of nightmares. The Samsara member looked away, but the mole rat captain kept watching.
That's why he went insane.
And afterwards went to the Thresher device and activated it, saying that she needed to bury the things she saw in darkness, while laughing and crying. Finally, we are given an interview with Dr. Scott, the Assistant Director of Temporal Studies at Site-13, who gives a history of the site as well as the alternate timeline from his reality. Plans for Site-13 began after the Foundation recovered the body of a massive dead sea creature that they could not contain. And so Site-13 was built in a remote location in Alaska and was larger than any facility at the time. After a terrorist used an anomaly to cause an explosion resulting in thousands of deaths, the U.S. government cut all of their funding to the Foundation. A former staff member of President Dole, named Paul Manafort, was appointed Secretary General of the Global Occult Coalition and organized a partnership with the Foundation. The GOC eventually gained control of the Foundation, and they once again received funding from the U.S. as well as the United Nations. Site-13 was the premier containment facility for the Foundation, and was continually being expanded. Emerson eventually became the site director, and began doing terrible things, supposedly under orders from Manafort. The incinerator was built, originally just to dispose of the body of the massive sea creature, but they began using it for everything, as well as doing invasive testing on anomalous creatures and humanoids. Vivisections began, and although the Ethics Committee tried to step in, their chairman was dragged out and shot for being a traitor.
My God.
The phrase, "for the greater good," was thrown around, and Scott claims that they eventually contained the Abrahamic God, possibly alluding to SCP-343, although he's not sure how they managed it. Dr. Hadley opposed Emerson's orders, and so she was brutally beaten by some guards one night, damaging her mind and leading her to cause the containment breach. Emerson came to Scott and asked him to turn on the highly experimental Thresher device in order to stop this, but Scott refused and fled, gathering his team. Before they could leave the facility, however, the device was activated, warping reality. Scott counts himself as lucky for surviving at all, but believes that they could have been floating between dimensions for 1,000 years for all he knows. Now that the device has been reactivated, it's completely unknown when and where it will end up. Like I said, SCP-1730 is one of the longest articles on the entire SCP Wiki, but that alone does not make it memorable. It's memorable because it presents a fascinating tale of the Foundation going simply too far. Largely as a result of the influence from the Global Occult Coalition, an organization focused on terminating anomalous items. There are plenty of real-world analogies from groups and organizations that have committed atrocities in the name of research, such as Unit 731, and so it's not far-fetched to believe that the same thing could happen in an anomalous universe. The author, DJ Cactus, took a relatively familiar and overdone concept, a strange, shifting location, and made it something utterly unique by incorporating a compelling backstory, numerous other SCPs, and a highly engaging rescue mission starring the Samsara team. As I mentioned, I cut out a lot of details and practically all of the dialogue, so I absolutely suggest going through this one on your own to get the full experience of what happened to Site-13.
AP3 Ross. You didn't see it? No, you haven't seen the video. They had these cells down below the site. They must have been the size of a football stadium each. Hollis had them open a few up so we could make our retreat, and the things inside, one of them looked at me like I might look at an ant. It was a god, and they had them in boxes. I counted 20 of those cells, but that chamber went on a lot further past what I could see. What they were keeping in those, how were they keeping them in there? Okay, so let's talk about this. We'll talk about, I have to give a shout out to the guy who wrote this article, was the AP Cactus or whatever, because that's cool. This is an insane article. Obviously, there's probably a lot more detail that Exploring Series didn't go into. I'm sure if you read the dialogues, you'll understand it a little better. But a 40-minute video for Exploring series is very long. He usually condenses it to 20. So when it's this, you know that it could take him a few. If he went through all the dialogue, it would take a few hours. So yeah, definitely one of the more interesting SCPs. I think it's one of my favorites just based off right now. It's very, very interesting. You know, like he said, quite a basic concept that you would see in many places, you know. But the guy took a big twist to it and changed it all up. And yeah, definitely a very complex and entertaining story. In terms of what happened, from what I can make out of it, the GOC and the SCP Foundation merged. A crazy dude called Emerson, who probably was part of the GOC, took control of Site-13, which was the biggest and most important site, I guess, the SCP Foundation had. And for some reason, this seems to be a fucking massive building. Like probably it's as big as a goddamn city, the way that like it's described, like with how big the things are in there and everything. There's a lot of mind-fuckish entities going on in there as well, you know, from the dude that was bending reality to the guy that had like Emerson strapped to his chest or whatever, and the clown, you know, the butterflies, the leech boy. I mean, from what I can understand, the GOC kind of took over and started committing atrocities, trying to, for the greater good, I don't know, melt entities into this grey sludge and do something. And all it turned out was Leech Boy somehow reanimating it and literally engulfing the site, and everything kind of went to shit from there. A few people survived. Obviously, they have the, I can't remember what it's called now, something with an A that causes the reality to go all over the place. And that's how they got into, I guess, this timeline that we are, I guess, in when we are thinking of the SCP universe. That's pretty crazy, you know what I mean? And obviously, somehow they survived in there. I mean, the thing is so big, the facility was so big. I still don't understand why in such a big facility you send 5 task force members, you know what I mean? Send a shit ton of them. Well, eventually they got out. I mean, in the end, it got a bit crazy that guy, that somehow they contained not only the SCP-001, but also the deer, which obviously is contained. But, you know what I mean? That's a bit crazy. Apparently, they also contain 343, so these guys must be way ahead of this timeline's SCP Foundation, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's a very entertaining video, man. Thank you to everybody who suggested it. Hopefully you enjoyed my reaction to this video. If you did, be sure to hit that subscribe, man. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next one.